Today's lecture is about circles. We would like to find the center, radius, and graph of circles. So our first example is asking us to find the center, radius, and graph of x squared plus y squared equals to 4. So you have to remember the equation of a circle, which is x squared plus y squared equals to r squared, where the center, in this case, is at 0, 0. And the radius is r. So in our case, we have x squared plus y squared. It's just that now the 4, so once you have x squared equals to y squared, then you know the center is at 0, 0, right? Anytime is in this form. And now the 4 is r squared, right? So whatever number is here, that's equal to r squared. So that means r squared is 4, but we need to find the radius. The radius is just r. So if r squared is 4, then you can take the square root of both sides to get what r is. So r would have to equal to plus or minus 2, right? But since the radius is a length and we cannot have negative length, so we're just going to say the radius is 2, positive 2. All right, so now we have the center and the radius. All we have to do is plot the center, which is at 0, 0, and you go 2 units away to the left, to the right, up and down from the radius. So 1, 2, it gives us this point, and then 1, 2 up gives us this point, and 2 units to the left gives us this point, and 2 units down give you this point. So those 4 other points, you connect them in a circular form, and that would be the graph of the center. And we already find the center radius over here. So that's it for number 1. Number 2 says now, same thing, we want to find the radius, the center, and graph of, in parentheses, x minus 1, close parentheses, square, plus, in parentheses, y minus 2, close parentheses, square equals to 9. So here the formula changes a little bit because now it's no longer x squared plus y squared, right? So the formula becomes now x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. And now the center is at hk. And notice that hk is opposite here. So this we have negative, and what comes out is just the h and the k. So it's opposite whatever is inside the parentheses. And the radius is still r. All right. So in our case, then, our h is going to be 1 and our k is going to be 2, because remember the formula comes with the negative. So therefore, we can read off the center by saying the center is at 1, 2. And the radius, well, you have to remember that this number is r squared. So that means r squared is 9. And if you take the square root of both sides, you get plus or minus, of course, then r will equal to plus or minus 3. But since the radius cannot be negative, so just say the radius is 3. So to graph that, you always start at the center. So the center is at 1, 2. So that's right here. Meaning you go 1 on the x and up 2 on the y, right? Each one of these lines are 1 unit away. And then from there, you do the same thing. You're counting the radius. Count 3 to the right, 3 to the left, 3 up, and 3 down from the center. So 1, 2, 3, that brings me here. If you want to know what that point is, you just count over to the x. So the first point would be at 1, 2, 3, 4. So that point would be at 4 for the x, and you count up 2 for the y if you want to figure what point it is. All right, so you go up 3. So 1, 2, 3, that brings you here. And over 3, 1, 2, 3, that brings you here. And down 3, 1, 2, 3, that brings you down here. Right? So if you want, you could read off these points. So for example, the last one I plot would be at x value 1 and y value -1, right? So you could read off these points if you like. So connect these points in a circular shape and you're done. So if you don't want to count, notice that it's the same thing we did. We just add, so the x value is 1, right? And the radius is 3. So to find the points on the x, you add the 3 to 1, so you get one value at 1 plus 3 is 4, right? So that's how we get this point here. And I should say 1 plus 3. So let's write that 1 plus 3, and then 1 minus 3. Those are the x values, which is at 4 and at -2. And if you want to find the y values, counting is fine, but if you want to be more mathematical, then the y values we add into the y. So you take the y value, which is 2, you add 3, then you get 5, so that's one value. And you take the y value, which is 2, and you subtract 3, you get -1. So that's how we get this -1, and this one up here is the y value is 5, and the x value there is 1. And so on, right? So you can always add it. So counting is way easier. So you don't have to do what I just did here. Just find the center and count over from the center. All right, here's another example. Now we want to find the same thing, center, radius, and graph. So now this is a mixture of both equations, because this now is x squared, so that means the center for the x is at 0. I know this one, you add in 1 to the y, so you have to shift it over negative to the negative side of 1. So if you're not clear what I'm trying to say, this now would be from, let's write the equation, x minus h square plus y minus k square equals to r squared. So we're saying that the h for the x is 0. Right? So that's 0. So that means the center here, the x value is at 0. And now the k is this value, but opposite. Remember, the formula comes with a negative, so this would be like -1. So that means the y value, the k, would be -1. Right? Our opposite, whatever is inside this. If it's positive, it's negative. If it's negative, it's positive, right? They're opposite each other. All right, so that's the center. The radius, remember this number here is r squared. So if r squared is 1, then take the square root of both sides, then r is plus or minus 1. The square root of 1 is 1. All right, so the radius is equal to 1. So same thing, we're just going to plot the center and move over 1 unit, up, down, left, and right. So plot the center, 0, -1, that's here. We're moving 1 units away, to the left, to the right, up, and down 1 unit, and that would be your circle. Of course, y and x. All right, and then our last example is this equation here. So notice that this doesn't look like any of our equation. It doesn't look like x squared plus y squared equals to r squared. And it doesn't look like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals to r squared. So that means we have to rearrange it, right? Or transform it such that it looks like one of those equations. But at this point, we cannot decide on the center or the radius. It must look like one of the equations above before you can read off the center and the radius. So how this is done? Well, if you remember completing the square, when you're completing the square and you factor, you get 2 of the same thing. You know, for example, if you have x squared plus 4x, right? Remember, what number can you add here such that when you factor, you get two of the same thing? And the way we do that is we do what? Take the b term, divide it by 2, and square it. So let's do that again. Take the b term, divide it by 2, and square it. And that, in our case, would be 4 divided by 2 square, which equals to 4. So that means if we add 4 here, when we factor x squared plus 4x plus 4, that gives us 2 of the same thing. What do I mean? You get x plus 2 times x plus 2, which equals to x plus 2 squared. So we can do that to get this equation to look like this one. So for example, let's group the x's together and the y's. And we're going to move the constant over. So the -3, when you move it over, becomes positive, right? So all you have to do now is to complete the square on the x term. What number goes here? What number goes here? Such that when we factor it, we get 2 of the same thing. How do you find the number? Well, you take the b term, so 6 divided by 2, and you square it. Maybe I shouldn't write it there because I'm gonna need to put the terms there. So let me write it somewhere else. So let's write it down here somewhere. Take the b term, 6 divided by 2 square, and that gives you 9. So that means 9 goes here. And given that it's an equation, if you add 9 to the left, you have to add it to the right as well. And the same thing goes for the -4. You take -4 divided by 2, and you square it, and that comes out to be 4. So you're going to add 4 here and add 4 over here as well. So now you can go ahead and factor x squared plus 6x plus 9. When you factor that, you get x plus 3 times x plus 3. And you don't have to worry about what two numbers multiply to give you 9 and something 6. That number is always in the parentheses. 6 over 2 is 3. So that's why this 3 is here, because it's 6 over 2. So the next one is going to be -2, because -4 divided by 2 is -2. So when you factor the y, you're going to get y minus 2 times y minus 2. And when you sum what's on the right, you get 16. So now x plus 3 times x plus 3 is x plus 3 squared. And y minus 2 times y minus 2 is y minus 2 squared. And that equal to 16. So now you see that this looks like one of the equation above. So now we can read off the center and the radius. So now you can say the center is at -3, 2, and the radius would be the square root of 16, which equals to 4, right? Because remember, r squared is equal to 16. So you take the square root, and so that r will equal to plus or minus 4. The square root of 16 is 4. And so therefore, r cannot be negative, so you just take the positive 4. So once you have the center and the radius, then that's enough to graph. So we just locate the center. So the center is at -3, so 1, 2, 3, that's right here, and 2, 1, 2. So that's the center here. And now we just count from the center. Count 4 units. If you go to the right 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, that brings you here. Go up 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, that brings you here. Go down 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, that brings you here. Go to the left 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, that brings you here. So you have the 4 points, draw a circle through them, and you are done. Okay, I have some for you to practice. So here, do these here, and then below you will find the answer, the center and the radius, and you can just graph them.